Friends and neighbors, welcome. Thanks for clicking this once again. My name is Matt Savage. I am your host for Mission Control Houston's hockey podcast. And boys and girls, for 32 teams in the NHL, it is the off season. They're talking about, contract extensions. They're talking about the draft. I'm recording this Friday morning, so they're talking about the draft, no doubt. They're talking about signings, trades, whatever. However, for Houston and for Atlanta and for Phoenix, it is the on season. Now's the time to pay attention to hockey because now's the time that we start thinking, hey, when are they going to announce expansion? When are they going to announce expansion? So, because of the need for expansion talk and the renewed interest, or rather the amplified interest in expansion talk, I thought it would be a good idea for what is, I think, this channel's 10th episode. I should have counted, right? I want to talk about what we know. Because there's a lot of bad information out there. There's a lot of outdated information out there. And something I've noticed is that rumors will get amplified, even by media sources, and be taken as fact. So what I want to do here is I want to talk about what we know for sure. I want to talk about evidence-based speculation, not just wild ideas, but what we think. And I'm also, as I do this, going to differentiate between what is factual, what is speculative, but based on evidence, and what is, well, we don't have anything to go on, but we can speculate. So the first thing I want to talk about is why Houston is even in this expansion conversation. And the reason the expansion conversation now includes Houston is because all the impediments that we once had to joining the NHL have been removed. The main impediment being Les Alexander, former owner of the Houston Rockets. You may recall that as soon as Tilman bought the team, one of the earliest questions he got was, okay, what about the NHL? The last guy blocked the NHL. Are you going to bring him in? And he kind of, when you look back at the interview answer, it was almost a shrug like, yeah, sure, whatever. Y'all want NHL. And that was kind of true. However, we have headlines that are saying things like, is Tilman going to bring the NHL to Houston? No. Here's one I saw yesterday from a hockey reporting site, and it was Tilman Fertitta's new role as ambassador to Italy might prevent Houston from getting an expansion hockey team. Okay. That's wrong for a lot of reasons. Legitimate sites are reporting this. Let me tell you why this is wrong. The first obvious reason is a man with that kind of net worth can walk and chew gum at the same time. I understand he's divesting himself of a lot of his business holdings, but I mean, really, is Tilman making the day-to-day decisions for the Rockets? Thing number two, the ambassador for Iran is very busy right now. The ambassador to Italy is probably having a pretty good time. So, no, that's not a decent enough reason either. And thing number three, it's not going to be Tilman. It honestly probably never was. If you take a look, Tilman wanted to pay what Seattle paid for expansion, $650 million, give or take. And the average valuation of an NHL franchise, it looks like it's going to be a $2 billion expansion fee. I said something like this in a YouTube comment for another channel. It's like, doubtful. Doubtful based on what? Tampa Bay just changed ownership. New owners are paying $1.7 billion for the Tampa Bay Lightning. When have you ever heard the price of anything going down? It's only going to go up. Maybe that 1.7 billion figure, maybe. But like the Yotes sold for 1.2 billion. And by the way, I know a lot of Houstonians were upset, myself included, when Houston didn't get the Yotes and instead they were sold to Salt Lake City. But in retrospect, The Yotes were kind of like that girl at last call with the bullet wound in her face and the misspelled Bible verse tattoo. Yeah, sure, because that's the one available. That's the one that you kind of want to take home. But, once you go home without somebody, when the next day comes, you're like, yeah, I'm kind of glad I that didn't work out. It's probably better that we meet a nice girl at church, right? So let's find us something better. And I think with this new expansion team, that's exactly what's going to happen. So who's going to bring us this expansion team? For those of you that haven't watched the previous 9 episodes, Dan Friedkin is the likely front runner. Reported by Emily Kaplan of ESPN a couple of months ago. Rumors were floating around here and there for those that kept their ear to the ground. Dan Friedkin, who, among other things, owns Gulf States Toyota. Now, things that we know about Friedkin, he also owns the Everton Premier League team. So he has some background in sports ownership. But look, when you're reading a news story that says, is Tilman, or you're following a social media account, is it going to be, it's not going to be Tilman. If someone's telling you that, they're not paying attention. Just stop listening. Okay, now, we know for sure, because it was announced this morning, that the NHL has met with 6 different ownership groups interested in an expansion franchise. And we can speculate on who those groups are. Okay. So we know there's at one time there were 3 groups from Atlanta. There might only be 2 now, but whatever. One of them is the Vernon Krause-led group. We don't know who the others are, but there's multiple suitors from Atlanta. And we know this, Atlanta's making a lot of noise. So now when you look at headlines, it's like, Atlanta's going to be next. No. Atlanta has things to do, like securing an arena site, okay, which is why they're making the most noise, all right? Now, in that group of 6, there may be multiple groups from Houston. They may be including Tilman in those 6, but Tilman's not the front runner from Houston. I think Tilman has actually conceded ownership of an NHL franchise to the Friedkin group. More on that here in a bit. There is at least one, maybe multiple suitors from Phoenix. And you're like, Phoenix, what? Yeah. Matt, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, Ishbia, the owner of the NBA Phoenix Suns and also the Mercury, but whatever. He has said almost as soon as Morelos sold the Yotes, has said that he wants to get behind bringing an NHL group to Phoenix. Okay, cool. Good for him. And you may have seen a story that the NHL met with investors from New Orleans who want to bring a NHL franchise to New Orleans. And that dominated the headlines there for a while. And every now and then you'll see it as a footnote to a article about potential expansion. You've been to New Orleans. You're from Houston, right? You've been to New Orleans at least once in your life. How likely does that seem to you? It's not going to be New Orleans, right? You'll notice that Bettman didn't even meet with the group. He had some of his lower level flunkies meet with him. It's not going to be New Orleans. If you're reading a news story that says New Orleans is getting an expansion franchise, just unsubscribe to whoever it is that you're following, right? Okay, so it's not going to be Tilman, probably. Keep a couple of things in mind. Tilman paid $1 billion to buy the Rockets, to beat out Beyonce for the Rockets. And he wasn't willing to go that high for the NHL. And the NHL actually wants more than $1 billion, it looks like. Which is fine. I mean, if he's not into hockey, who cares? But he's doing something that Les didn't do during his ownership of the Rockets, which is not stand in the way of hockey being played at his stadium the way Les did. So cool. Barrier removed. Yay. Okay. Um, Fine. So the question of where are they going to play has now been made clear that yes, Tilman is going to play nice with Friedkin, and we know this because of this news story here from the Houston Business Journal that says Friedkin helped Tilman secure an extension on the Toyota Center naming rights. Friedkin, who runs Gulf States Toyota, who is a very large dealer network, yeah, he's going to have some influence here. So, cool. Now, the real question mark is, where are they going to practice? Now, to me, if you take it as a foregone conclusion that NHL expansion is coming to Houston, which I do, and we'll talk about when here in a bit, but if you take that as a foregone conclusion, the question of where are they going to play is, at least in the short term, settled with Toyota Center renovations and things like that. However, where they're going to practice, to me, is a bigger question mark. Now people that haven't been paying attention for the past, couple of decades are like, well, wait, isn't there a practice facility in Sugar Land that the Aeros used to use? Yeah, but if you haven't been there in a while, it's nowhere close to NHL caliber. Okay, so we need a new facility, and we know a couple of things. We know that there's going to be a 2 slab of ice facility being built in South Katy, which I really need to learn the name of because I can't just keep calling it the potential new site. And also I need to just drive by there and just look at construction. I don't know, because it satisfies some curiosity. But whatever. We know that's there, and we know it's supposed to be pretty nice. So this is from Bob Williams, Drone Enthusiast. I'll link this to you down below. But this is on the corner of Beach Nut and Harlem. So, man, it looks like it's really coming along, too. So maybe there's some excitement here in the near future. We also know that it wasn't that long ago that Harris County Sport Authority showed us a proposal for NRG Center renovations that also said, well, we could also throw a slab of ice in here that, maybe it's an NHL practice facility. We'll put some seats in. Maybe it can host the AHL or ECHL or whatever. Maybe. And honestly, if they're playing at Toyota Center, that doesn't sound like the least bad option. But then this came out, and I'm going to share this with you here. Woodland Slapshot. And what I really like about this is they're just saying the quiet part out loud. All cards are on the table. The Woodland Slapshot LLC wants to build a NHL practice arena and house a AHL affiliate team. Sorry about that notification here. Works kind of a thing. Okay. So, all right. Look at that. Oh, man. Okay. But then when we look closer at this, sorry, I thought it was there. All right. They want 200-seat NHL practice facility, AHL affiliate team to the Houston NHL team. Now that's interesting to me because hockey doesn't have the impact that some of the other sports do in Houston, right? Like Houston can get away with the Astros playing downtown and their AAA affiliate in Sugar Land. Could a hockey team get away with having their major league team playing downtown and the minor league up in the Woodlands? I don't know the answer to that. You know what? I'll tell you something else too. Let me just get back on me here. All right. I was discussing this the other day with somebody, and yeah, okay. Our big 4 sports are football, baseball, basketball, and hockey. But is that the way it is in Houston? Here's a question. Just let it percolate in your mind. Comment down below, because I need more comments from you, right? I'm lonely. I need to talk to you. Will the NHL team outdraw the Dynamo? I have no idea what the Dynamo draw down here, but I would think that soccer's more popular for now until people start looking into hockey. It's just something to kick around in your head, all right? So, anyway, I also don't know if soccer fans take the MLS seriously. But, anyway, something to think about. So, let's keep looking at this, shall we? All right. 2 full-size ice pads, cool. All right. A basketball, okay, sure. Why not? Okay, so they want to do a lot of things with it. Cool. And I'm thinking, hey, wow, they got stuff going on here, but oh wait, they're raising capital. This is just an idea. Cool. But I would think you don't make this public announcement that this is what you're doing unless there's something already in motion. So anyway, investment plans and stuff like that. But here's what caught my attention. Michelle Petit's involved in this. From the Houston hockey community, obviously former NHL player. By the way, I feel horrible about something. He was at Hockey Day in Houston and handed me a autograph thing, and I'm sure he handed out a lot of those for that facility that I think is on the off the tollway. And I'm like, okay, I sorry, man, I don't know who you are. Yeah. And he was cool about it, but it's like we don't see NHL jerseys in this city. There's only been a handful of NHL exhibition games, so sorry. But anyway, point being, we know he's involved in that Houston hockey community. We know he's involved in that center with, by the way, if you haven't seen it, that plastic that they use for roller hockey is pretty impressive tech. But anyway, we know that there's some involvement here. So I don't know, is there more to it than just, hey, there's speculation, we hope we can bring something here? I don't know. So, okay, let's see here. What else have we not talked about yet? We've talked about how much. Since we talked about the Woodlands, could they be the minor league affiliate? I don't know. It's also worth talking about that it wasn't that long ago that League City was talking about trying to build a little arena to bring something to town. I don't know, maybe an ECHL affiliate. I can't imagine this area supporting NHL, AHL, and ECHL, but, I don't know if you build it, they will come, but, if you don't build it, they definitely won't. So, I don't know if someone's willing to take a flyer on it. I'll drive out to League City to watch games, but I don't know if anything actually is going to come of this or if anything's in motion. I will remind you that before COVID, the bill that passed in Sugar Land to bring us Smart Financial Center and Constellation Field, which is where the Astros AAA affiliate plays, also was supposed to build a small arena for, I guess NBA G League and a potential minor league hockey arena too. 2/3 of that happened. That third one, they blamed COVID, but who knows? But that got stalled. So who knows if the League City thing gets solved too. Okay. So how do we know, or rather, what is our evidence that NHL expansion is happening? Well, the answer to that is the meeting that happened on Wednesday through the NHL Board of Governors. And they said, well, nothing about expansion. Yeah, we're talking to people, but whatever. Okay, let's talk about this meeting that was held on Wednesday. Number one, during this collective bargaining agreement, by the way, the agreement's not final yet, but the things that were talked about, the things that are being agreed to are, and I'm not going to talk financials because that's stuff players care about. I don't care what players make. But number one, they fixed the long-term injury reserve loophole, so teams can't exploit that anymore. I was a little annoyed with Dallas that they didn't exploit that LTIR loophole when, oh my God, I'm blanking on the name, but when Heiskanen got injured. But okay, fine. All right, so that's thing number one. Thing number two, kind of sad. It is the end of the e-bug era, the emergency backup goaltender. They now have to have one signed and ready to go or whatever. So there's no longer a call up a beer league guy or get your equipment manager to strap on the pads when the front two goalies go down. So that's kind of sad. But the part that's relevant to us is they're discussing negotiating and adding an additional 2 games to the schedule. And when I saw this, I'm like, who wants that? Because honestly, I think the NHL schedule's too long. And most fans, I think, also feel the same way. The only one who I'm sure the players do, the only ones who really want an extra 2 games are the owners. It's a little silly that we're in summertime lifting the Stanley Cup, especially with Southern expansion. But the additional 2 games is to make room for an additional 2 teams, most likely. Oh, and as I'm recording this, the deal's done. The CBA is signed. It's a 4-year extension. All the stuff I just mentioned, with the addition of there's no player dress code. And hopefully the NHLPA won't embarrass themselves. So there we go. That's it. It's done. Anyway, by the way, and this is just wild guessing, speculation, not evidence-based. It's just my gut. I have a feeling this next expansion announcement, they're not going to only announce 2 teams. I think they're going to announce 4. I think Houston and Atlanta are ready to go. I think they really want Phoenix because Gary doesn't like to admit mistakes, which is the whole reason for Atlanta in the first place. So they're going to try Phoenix again. And now that they got the Suns owner, whose name I already forgot, involved, they could probably get something cooking there. And then the 4th team, whoever that is, I think the only real surprise is who that 4th team's going to be. And again, to speculate on top of my speculation, I think it's going to be a Canadian city. So, fine. That's some evidence. They're adding 2 games to the schedule to accommodate extra teams. Okay. Well, all the impediments are out of the way. We got the arena upgrades. Owners like making money. $2 billion expansion fee. I mean, all systems are go, right? So I guess our next question then is, well, Matt, why haven't we heard anything yet? I mean, shouldn't they be announcing this? And the answer to that is no. So traditionally, and I went back and I looked at every expansion since the 1979 merger between the WHA and the NHL. And there are traditionally 2 times that the NHL likes to announce expansion. And let's see if I can get this to pull up here. June. This week, in fact. And it didn't happen this week because I wasn't arrested for streaking in Discovery Green. But Las Vegas, Atlanta, the second time, the Thrashers organization, Minnesota, Columbus, and Nashville were all announced this week in June. Okay, so if it's not June, when's it going to be? Well, the next time the League Board of Governors meets is going to be in October. That's probably when I's are dotted, T's are crossed. Okay, so with that in mind, when else do they announce expansions? December. And you'll notice, just like in June, they've done it 5 times with these expansion cities. They did it with Seattle, Ottawa, Tampa Bay, Florida, and Anaheim. So, are we getting an NHL franchise for Christmas? It's on my wish list. Are we getting an NHL franchise for Christmas? Again, it's speculation, but it's evidence-based speculation. I think so. I am not a degenerate gambler. I'm not a degenerate sports gambler. But if I had to make a bet, December is when we'll hear something. So the only thing that really makes me hesitant on that December date is the Olympics. And it's kind of close to the Olympics, and I know they're going to want to do a lot of Olympic hype up till that. I don't know that one interferes with the other, but that's my only reservation there. Okay. Other questions that we have to ask. How do new teams affect the playoffs? And Bettman said there will not be a play-in tournament, which I hope is true because, as I mentioned on a previous episode, I think too many teams make the playoffs as it is. But the reason I think that maybe he's telling the truth on this is because one of the things he said was we don't need play-in tournaments because looking at this year, 2 of the playoff seeds were decided on the very last game of the regular season. And so, okay, maybe he's on to something there. Maybe we don't need to expand the playoffs. I don't, I wish that we did 1 through 8 instead of divisional, artificial divisional rivalries, but whatever, it's his gig, and all right, fine. Okay, and then the big one. What's the team going to be called? Well, one of the things I mentioned on the very first episode of this show is I think it's going to be some lame space name that we like to do. Not that space is lame. It's kind of cool that the first and last words on the moon uttered have been Houston. That's kind of cool, right? But there's only so many plays on rockets, comets, astronauts, that you could do before the whole thing just gets tiresome. The whole reason I named this channel Mission Control is because of my prediction that I'll be a space name. And this is where you're going, why not Aeros? It should be Aeros. Aeros is our hockey tradition. And yeah, but I think the Wild still own the Aeros name from when we were their minor league affiliate. I don't know that we can get it back, but I mentioned this to someone who said, all right, well then, how did Winnipeg get the Jets name back? Because didn't at that time the Phoenix Coyotes own all of the Winnipeg Jet history? And yeah, I guess they did. So my answer to that question is, I don't know how they got it. I don't know if it would be any different for the Houston Aeros. I would prefer the Houston Aeros. Any other name is demonstrably wrong. And maybe Friedkin and Fertitta are looking at naming the team the Aeros because one of the things I mentioned is look at the seat colors on the Toyota Center. If they're a neutral color, then we have a wide variety of color options. And, if they stay red, that's no version of the Aeros we ever had. And according to this article anyway, we have new seats coming for the Toyota Center. So maybe there's something to it. Of course, the big question is when. Okay. Well, we've already established, I think, and there's enough smoke to assume that there is a fire. That expansion is coming soon. And we already established, I think, it's going to be announced in December. So let's look at recent history. Seattle announced their team in 2018, and they began play in the 2021 season. And if we follow that formula, then all right, fine. That means that Houston will have their season announced in 2025 for play in the 2028-2029 season. That's what I think. Hey, while I got you here, NHL to Houston on X has been killing it this week with updates. So follow NHL to Houston. Also follow MC Hockey Podcast, right? But he posted this from Houston Hockey Community. Those are those guys with the facility out there on the tollway. I think it's south of Little York. Anyway, they are having an alumni weekend. Day one is going to have a gala or gala. We'll pretend they're both right. That includes, as you can see from this picture, Dallas Stars 1999 Stanley Cup champion Brett Hull is going to be there, and other celebrity alumni. And then in day two, there will be a alumni game with some Houston All-Stars. And what's fun about this, and I'll just close that for a second, there are a lot of different ways to interact with this alumni weekend. which is pretty cool. So whatever your price point is or your weekend availability, but not bad, decent fundraisers. So yeah, get in on this. Why not? Okay, other thing. If you are a Stars fan, I know some of y'all like to give me a hard time about being a Stars fan. But if you are a Stars fan, they have marked down significantly the blackout jerseys on the Hanger Hockey Store. So that might be something that you want to get in on. And while we're talking about jerseys, the unfortunate thing here is the pre-sale will be done. Oh my God. The pre-sale will be done by the time you get in on this. But VintageIceHockey.com has a bunch of old Aeros, or not old, but reprinted Aeros stuff. And you'll notice the IHL jerseys. Now, by the time you see this, because this episode goes live probably Saturday evening, the pre-sale will be done. Because I just heard about this. Mrs. Control got an email because she buys me stuff from this site, so she gets emails from them. And she let me know that this was happening. And you're like, oh, darn, I wanted my name on it. And, the pre-order is going to be done by then. But hold on, take a look at this. And you'll notice, yeah, they got the font wrong on the lettering. So what I would recommend to you here is get the blank jersey. You get the blank jersey, and someone on eBay who does this stuff with kit jerseys has produced, there you go, customized numbers that match what the IHL Aeros did at that time period. So pick those up. Now, you might be going, okay, Savage, that's great, but why don't I just buy one off of eBay if I want an Aeros jersey? And I'm kind of with you, and that's great if you know exactly what size and all that. Yeah, you probably already did this. But for those of us that, number one, I'm dropping some weight, so that, why am I telling you? I'm telling everyone. But if sizing is kind of I don't know how this is going to go for you, you don't want to take that chance. Well, VintageIceHockey.com has their, and I'm not getting paid for this, right? But I'm letting you know because I want to see more Aeros jerseys out in the wild. But VintageIceHockey.com has a sizing chart that you don't get from eBay. And then I've noticed, because I've done this a couple of times, I've emailed or contacted eBay sellers, and I'm like, well, hey, is this a regulation jersey? Is it a replica? Oh, no, it's so. Or they say it's regulation, but they don't know, does it have a fight strap? What's that? So just, if you want to take a chance on it, sure. But I'm choosing to get one from Vintage Ice Hockey with just the numbers on it because they got those right. And then I'm ordering this eBay kit for the letters. So anyway, if you're interested in that, cool. All right. Well, kids, that was a lot of stuff. We went over half an hour. Okay. What did we learn? We learned that it's not just pipe dream. There's evidence-based reasoning to believe we're getting this team soon. And with that, boys and girls, remember that you teach your friends the game, but it's summer, so do it anyway. Build up that hype, build the community. And with that, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, we out of here.